The wounds that never healed. The council chamber was silent, filled with delegates from across the galaxy, but every human in the room felt the same weight pressing on their chest, the same shadow that stretched across years, the same memory that refused to fade. At the center stood the envoy, a tall alien with silver skin that glimmered under the chamber's light. Its voice was soft, almost pleading. "We come to offer peace with humanity. The wars of the past must be forgotten. The future can only be built together." The other alien races nodded slowly, some hopeful, some cautious, but the humans did not answer right away. They stared at the envoy, at its calm words, and all they could see was blood, fire, and broken bodies, because humanity had not forgotten. Humanity would never forget. The massacre had happened decades ago, yet it still lived in the bones of every survivor. In one night, fleets of alien warships had fallen upon human colonies, not because of war, not because of threats, but because humans were considered too dangerous to be left alone. Whole cities burned, children vanished, skies turned red with fire, and though humanity had risen again, though Earth rebuilt fleets stronger than before, the scars remained like iron brands on their souls. Now these same voices, these same hands that once signed death orders, stood before them with outstretched arms, asking for peace. General Marcus, the human representative, did not rise. His eyes were cold, his hands steady on the table. He had fought in those wars. He had walked through ash and heard the screams of the dying. He knew that forgiveness was not as easy as words. Behind him sat veterans and survivors, each face marked by pain, each gaze sharper than any blade. They were here not as diplomats, but as reminders of what was lost. The envoy continued, "The galaxy has changed. Humanity has proven its strength. We see now the value of your kind. Together we can prevent another era of blood." But the words felt hollow, like an old song played for ears that could not hear it anymore. One of the survivors whispered to the human side of the chamber, "Do they think we can just erase it? Do they think peace is a gift, not a cost?" The memory of the massacre stirred like a wound reopened. The council might have forgotten, the other races might have buried it, but humanity had carried the graves within them every day. They carried them into their homes, into their fleets, into their very blood. And yet, in that silence, something else stirred. Not just anger, not just grief, but the weight of choice. Would humanity accept the hand offered by those who once slaughtered their people? Or would they rise once again with fire, showing the galaxy that scars were not weakness, but warning? General Marcus finally stood. His boots echoed against the polished floor. The chamber leaned forward, waiting for words, waiting for the decision that might shape the next 100 years. His voice was low but carried like thunder. "You ask for peace, but peace is not spoken. Peace is earned, and humanity has not forgotten the price you forced us to pay." The chamber stirred, murmurs rippling through alien delegates. Some showed guilt, some showed fear, but none could erase the truth. Marcus's eyes swept the room. "We remember the colonies burned, the children lost, the skies lit with our dead. You ask us to forgive while the graves still stand. You ask us to trust while your fleets once hunted us to extinction." The envoy lowered its head, silence folding around the chamber. The humans did not smile, they did not soften, because for them, the massacre was not history, it was a shadow that still walked beside them. The humans did not smile, they did not soften, because for them, the massacre was not history. It was a shadow that still walked beside them, and so the question hung heavy in the air. Would humanity lay down its fire, or would the galaxy learn, once again, what it meant to scar the human spirit? The answer had not yet been spoken, but every heartbeat in the chamber carried the same rhythm. The scars were still there, and scars never forget. The silent fleet. The chamber remained still after General Marcus's words. Not one human clapped, not one human cheered. They simply waited, silent as stone. The envoy tried again, its voice trembling now. "Humanity has risen stronger. We respect that. The Council has voted to bring you into alliance. We will share resources, knowledge, trade routes. We will protect one another from threats beyond the stars." The words were sweet, but humanity remembered when those same promises had been lies, when they were told they were under protection, and instead their colonies were marked for destruction. The humans gave no answer in that chamber. They rose as one, veterans, survivors, leaders, and generals, and they left without a single word. The sound of their boots against the floor was louder than any speech. It was a sound that spoke of judgment. Outside, far above the planet where the Council gathered, the human fleet waited. Not just a few ships, not just a token escort, but a wall of steel and fire. Dozens of dreadnoughts and cruisers hung in orbit, silent and watching. They were painted black, without banners, without symbols, as if to say, "We are not here for celebration. We are here for memory." The aliens looked up at the sky nervously. They had seen human fleets before, but this was different. This was not a show of force. It was a reminder. Inside the human flagship, soldiers stood in silence before a monument. It was a statue, not a banner, but a wall covered in names, thousands upon thousands of names. Each name a voice silenced in the massacre, each name a wound that had never healed. Young recruits stood before the wall with fists clenched. They had never seen the massacre. They had been born after it, yet they carried its memory like fire in their blood, passed down from survivors who had whispered it into their ears at night. An old captain placed his hand on the cold steel of the wall and spoke quietly. "They think we can forget, but this wall reminds us the galaxy must never forget what it did to us." On the bridge, General Marcus looked out the viewport at the Council world below. He knew the aliens thought peace could erase the past, but peace without justice was only silence before another war. And then, something shifted. A signal echoed across the human fleet, encrypted and strong. The commanders opened it, and on their displays appeared images of hidden archives, proof that some of the very races begging for peace had still profited from the massacre. Supply chains, shipyards, weapons contracts, all tied to the slaughter of human lives. The humans stared at the evidence. Their jaws tightened, their fists curled. It was not history alone. It was betrayal still bleeding in the present. General Marcus did not rage. He did not shout. His voice was steady. "They think they can cover their sins with speeches. They think we will bend because we want peace. But peace built on lies is a chain around the neck." A younger officer asked in a low voice, "Then what do we do, General? Do we strike them now?" Marcus did not answer at once. He turned to the wall of names. The silence in the room was heavy, and then he spoke. "We do not strike in rage. Humanity does not answer scars with blind fire. We will show them truth first, and if they deny it, then we remind them what it means to face us." At that very moment, the council chambers were buzzing with confusion. The delegates whispered among themselves. Some were frightened, others angry. Why had the humans walked out? Why had they brought their fleet? But above them, the black wall of human warships remained, silent and unmoving. Every alien who looked at it felt the same cold thought in their chest. This was not an army waiting for orders. This was a wound waiting to speak. The envoy who had begged for peace looked up at the dark ships and whispered, "If they do not forgive us, the galaxy will never know rest." But forgiveness was not the question anymore. The question was survival, because the humans had carried their scars into the stars, and scars could burn brighter than fire, the tribunal of truth. The next sunrise on the council world should have been ordinary, yet the shadows of the human fleet hanging above the planet made every street feel heavy, every sky unsafe. Inside the chamber, the alien delegates were restless. Some demanded answers, others whispered in fear. Humanity had left without a treaty, without agreement, only silence. Then the silence broke. A ripple of light struck the center of the chamber. Hollow screens unfolded, not by council authority, but by human command. The delegates froze as images filled the air. documents, contracts, transmissions, each branded with the Council's own seal. They were records of betrayal, records of the massacre. One showed shipyards that had sold fuel to the fleets that slaughtered human colonies. Another displayed trade routes where alien merchants carried away human children in chains. Another exposed the Council votes, pages where some delegates had chosen to remain silent, while others had approved the extermination orders. The chamber erupted in chaos. Voices shouted, claws slammed against tables, wings flared in panic. The evidence was undone. Evil. It was not just history, it was guilt carved into law. On the hollow screens, a human voice spoke, calm and sharp as steel. You ask us for peace, but these are your signatures, your prophets, your silence. Tell us, where in these records do we find your honor? Where in this paper do we find forgiveness? The delegates looked around. Some lowered their eyes in shame, others screamed denial, but none could erase what was written. General Marcus appeared on the screen. His figure stood against the wall of names aboard the flagship. Behind him stretched the endless list of the dead. His eyes did not blink as he spoke. We are not here to beg. We are not here to forget. Humanity came to this chamber with scars, and those scars demanded one thing: truth. The Council President tried to speak, voice trembling. The massacre was a mistake of the past. It was the work of a few, not all. We cannot be held accountable for... Marcus's voice cut through like thunder. Not accountable? Then who signed these orders? Who sold the weapons? Who turned their eyes away when fire fell from the sky? Silence answered him. One younger alien delegate stood, their voice quiet. If humanity carries scars, it is because we carved them. The Council must face this. We cannot speak of peace until we admit the blood on our hands. The chamber shivered with tension. Some screamed for the delegates' removal. Others nodded in agreement. It was no longer only humanity on trial. It was the Council itself. From orbit, the human fleet released a final signal. It was not a weapon, not yet, but a broadcast. Every world in the galaxy received it. Every citizen saw the documents, the names, the faces of human colonies burning under alien fire. Billions across the stars gasped as truth spilled into their homes. Farmers, miners, merchants, all saw that the peace they lived under had been built on Massacre, built on human bones. The Council tried to cut the transmission, but humanity had woven it too deep. The truth could not be silenced. General Marcus's last words echoed across every world. You say peace, but peace without justice is poison. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not bow. Choose now. Stand before the truth or stand against us, and understand this. If we must fight again, the scars you gave us will be the fire that consumes you. The galaxy shook. Some alien worlds wept at the revelation. Some rose in anger against their own leaders. But one thing was clear. Humanity had not come to negotiate. Humanity had come to put the past on trial. And for the first time, the Council realized something terrifying. The humans were not asking permission for justice. They were demanding it. The galaxy divides. The galaxy had always believed the Council to be unshakable. Its voice was law, its commands absolute. But after the human broadcast, cracks split through its foundation like lightning across glass. Worlds that had once sat in silence now roared with outrage. Citizens poured into the streets, demanding answers from their leaders. Some planets sent apologies to humanity. Others declared that their governments had lied to them, and still others, those with the most blood on their hands, began to prepare their fleets. Inside the Council chamber, panic ruled. Some delegates shouted that humanity must be crushed before it gained more power. Others cried that war would doom them all, and a few whispered that perhaps humanity was right. Perhaps the massacre had been the Council's original sin. General Marcus and the human delegation did not return to the chamber. They no longer needed to. The galaxy itself was now the audience. The truth was alive and spreading like fire. From orbit, the human fleet remained unmoving, like a blade pointed at the heart of the Council world. The black hulls reflected no light, each ship a silent reminder of the scars humanity carried. In one council sector, a Galactic collapsed under the fury of its people, riots tearing down monuments built on old lies. In another, a leader declared, "If humanity rises, we will stand with them, not against them." But elsewhere, darker voices gathered, armadas hidden in shadow began to stir. Commanders who had grown fat on human suffering now swore to finish what their ancestors had started. Their fleets were larger, their weapons vast, but their hearts carried arrogance, not scars. Back aboard the human flagship, the officers studied every signal, every shift across the galaxy. One young officer turned to Marcus. "Sir, we've started something that cannot be undone. The galaxy is dividing. They'll come for us." Marcus's gaze never left the star map. "Then let them come. They think numbers win wars. They forget what scars can do to the human spirit. We do not fight for conquest. We fight for memory that makes us unstoppable." The wall of names loomed behind him, and the officers nodded, because they all knew. The dead marched with them. In secret, human intelligence officers revealed another truth. While alien fleets armed themselves, humanity had been preparing too, not just ships, but weapons the galaxy had never seen, engines that burned brighter, hulls woven from materials no alien science understood, and deep within Earth's hidden shipyards, something darker slept, machines built not just to fight, but to end wars before they began. Still, Marcus held his fleet back. Humanity would not strike first. Humanity would wait. The council begged for negotiations, but the chamber was fractured, trust was broken. No one believed in unity anymore, not after the truth, and the galaxy whispered a new fear. If humanity could shatter the council with truth alone, what would happen when they unleashed fire? On distant worlds, alien children asked their parents, "Are the humans coming for us?" And parents had no answer. On warships, commanders drilled their crews, their voices shaking as they said, "Do not underestimate them," because even those who hated humans now feared them. Back on Earth, billions stood ready. Every scar, every memory turned into resolve. Factories roared, academies filled with recruits, families lit candles at the graves of the lost, whispering, "Your blood will never be forgotten." And so the galaxy reached a breaking point. Some stretched out their hands to humanity in friendship, desperate for forgiveness. Others sharpened their blades, hungry to erase their shame with human blood. But humanity no longer waited for the council to decide its fate. Humanity had scars, and scars did not beg. They warned, they burned, they led the way into fire. And when the first alien fleet moved against them, humanity did not hesitate. They answered not with speeches, but with steel. The scars strike back. The alien fleet came first as a shadow on the star map, a formation of warships, larger than most nations had ever seen. Their commanders thought numbers would crush human resolve. They thought scars could not fight. They were wrong. From the human flagship, General Marcus watched as the hostile fleet pushed toward the edge of human space. His voice was calm. "Signal all ships. Stand ready. They come to erase our scars, but we will show them what scars truly mean." The human fleet moved like a single living beast, black hulls sliding out of the darkness, engines burning quiet blue. They did not broadcast warnings. They did not ask for mercy. They advanced, silent as a graveyard. When the alien fleet opened fire, the stars themselves seemed to burn, rivers of plasma, beams of light, missiles streaking across the void. Yet the human ships did not break. Their shields drank the fire. Their armor glowed, but did not shatter. And then humanity answered, a wave of weapons unleashed, torpedoes that split into 100 smaller fangs, cannons that fired shards of metal faster than light, drones that slipped past defenses like shadows. The alien fleet staggered, ships tore apart, flames spilling into the void. On the bridge of one alien dreadnought, a commander screamed, "They fight like they have nothing left to lose." But it was not despair driving humanity. It was memory. It was scars. And scars do not fade. They harden, they sharpen, they strike. Across the battlefield, human warships carried the names of fallen colonies, painted across their hulls in burning letters: New Horizon, Hope's End, Ashfall. Every shot fired was not just a weapon, it was vengeance. It was history screaming back. The battle lasted hours, then days, but the outcome was never in doubt. The alien fleet broke, its commanders begging for retreat, yet the humans pressed forward, not to annihilate, but to remind. When the last alien ship surrendered, silence fell over the stars. The human fleet stood victorious, untouched in spirit, though the scars still burned. The council chamber received the transmission, Marcus's face once more filling the air. Behind him, the wall of names glowed. You asked for peace. You sent fleets instead. You thought our scars were weakness, but they are the reason we stand, stronger than any empire. The delegates trembled. Some bowed their heads, others stared in silence, for they finally understood. Humanity could not be erased. Humanity could not be broken. Humanity would not be controlled. Marcus's voice thundered. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek chains. We seek truth, justice, and memory. If you want peace, then let it be built on respect, not on lies. The scars of the massacre will never fade, but they will remind the galaxy of what happens when humanity is betrayed. And then the broadcast ended for weeks. The galaxy held its breath. No fleets moved against humanity again. Worlds that once sneered at Earth now sent envoys in humility, no longer offering peace as a gift, but as an equal bond. On Earth, bells rang, candles burned. Families gathered at memorials where names of the lost were carved into stone. The people wept, not in weakness, but in pride. Their scars had carried them through fire and brought the galaxy to its knees. Children asked their parents, "Will the stars ever hurt us again?" And the parents answered with steady voices, "Not while humanity remembers." And so it was written in history. The council had asked for peace, but humanity gave them something greater, truth sharpened by scars. For scars do not disappear. They become warnings. They become strength. They become the unbreakable armor of a people who once stood on the edge of extinction and chose instead to rise. And the galaxy, for the first time, finally understood. Humanity did not just survive the massacre. Humanity became the fire that would never be extinguished.